What happens when a reporter has published an article that is later shown to have factual errors? With the sheer volume of news events being covered, the speed by which reporters must file their stories, and the complexity of events that must be reduced to a short article or soundbite, mistakes happen in news coverage. Yet it seems that some reporters consistently make errors. In Israel, this usually means that the reporters distort facts to leave a negative image of Israel and Israeli actions. Distortion of facts is one of Honest Reporting's 8 categories of media bias.
One of the problems today with the journalism industry is that everything is, we want it yesterday. And editors feel that, and reporters in the field feel that as well. Whereas I used to perhaps have a day to file a story, sometimes I still do have a day if I'm writing a feature, for example. But if it is a news story, the idea is to get it in fast, And I'm seeing that very often the newspapers that I write for will put in what you call, a space saver. They will take something from AP, they will take something from Reuters, they'll take something from Twitter, from a citizen journalist, and it's not something that I've written, and then I'm expected to add to that story. And that creates a hodgepodge of reporting, first of all, and it also means that I, as a journalist, have a lot less time to fact check.
I think if a reporter reports things that aren't true, they need to fix it. I think those who respect themselves do fix it. There is a cultural problem among journalists, and it's a cultural problem that says, I have to remain independent. My respectability comes from my independence, and therefore you won't force me to fix a mistake, even if it's a mistake. Now, that's not all journalists. Hopefully that's not even most journalists, but it's definitely out there. And you can look at a story that was told wrong, and was told factually wrong. Not interpretation is already a very big question, but the facts are missing, right? The Palestinian was attempting to kill somebody when he was killed. Now, that doesn't even say he was, right? We now have this big crisis in Israel. That's maybe the most significant political debate in Israel, with the defense minister taking the side of Amnesty International in a very rare moment, where a soldier, right, shot and killed this Palestinian, and the Palestinian had just stabbed and wounded an Israeli soldier. If that second half is missing from the story, you're not telling the story. And you come back to this reporter and you say to this reporter, that has to be in your story. That's, if they don't put that in, they're certainly violating, journalistic ethics at the most basic level. But there is this cultural resistance. There is this statement that says, you're not doing my reporting, I'm doing my reporting. If I let you do my reporting, then I'm working for you, or I'm taking sides. So it's almost as though bad journalism is sometimes defended as independent journalism, which of course it isn't. The news cycle is absolutely tyrannical. I don't think readers care who they get their news from anymore, at all. It doesn't matter to them if it's the Independent or the Telegraph. It doesn't matter to them if it's, Yediot Achronot in Israel, or Ma'ariv, or Yisrael. What they want is the headline. They want the news. They want to understand what's happening. And therefore, the race is no longer a race of branding. Journalists don't need to, you're not trying to build the Yediot Achronot brand, or the New York Times. New York Times maybe is a little different, but you're not trying to build, the brand of your newspaper. You're trying to build the internet presence that makes you indisposable by you being first, you being most comprehensive, you being most correct. And those 3 things, first, comprehensive, and correct, pull in opposite directions. You can't be first if you're comprehensive, and you can't be correct if you're first. It's almost impossible. So that's a pressure. It's very real. It's a pressure that exists as much in newspapers that are very deeply Israeli as those who are very deeply opposed to Israel or Israeli policies or whatever. It's a universal pressure of journalism. We don't know how to get out of it. And I think that we should be forgiving when that's the mistake. It's a little bit like going to the bank and discovering that the bank made an error, right? It's surprising how few times that error is in your favor. Errors at a bank tilt strangely, in statistically strange ways, to the bank's favor, right? If journalists make these assumptions and mistakes that are caused by just the needs of the news cycle, and they're always in one side's favor, it's not really about the news cycle. It's not about the time issue.
Distorting the facts goes against the most fundamental obligations of a journalist to report events fully and objectively. When those facts are distorted in order to further the reporter's agenda, it represents one of the worst forms of media bias, one for which we must be on watch. This is just one of the several forms of media bias that we at Honest Reporting are working hard to inform you, news consumers, to be on watch for. In fact, Honest Reporting's new ebook, Red Lines, is your guide to becoming an informed, savvy news consumer. Together we can make a great difference to improve new standards of coverage for Israel. Get online, get involved. Thank you for being a part of our work.